Should be RomneyAudio.Africa.
Romy Titus and Kevin McCallum. Not the sports news.
Headlines have spoken.
Streaming data-free on the MTN network in South Africa. This is where Africa comes to play.
That is a masterclass.
On your phone, online, and on demand at omniaudio.africa.
It's mayhem.
Not the sports news.
Goeiemôre, Dumelang.
Hello, how's it?
Hoe gaan dit?
It is May, and it is ham, and it's a ham.
Yeah, it is mayhem. It is mayhem. Good morning. You know, I just worked it out. Mdu looks like Bruce Vuma, the Chiefs goalkeeper.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a big...
I always wondered, like, hold on, man. It looks like someone. And then the other day, I put it together.
Oh.
We're going to put two pictures together online and then ask our listeners to vote.
Is Bruce Vuma also overweight?
Anyway, as we were saying, come on. They're not
news,
overweight. They
no.
lean, they mean. That is Sundowns. Wow. And they have claimed since the 2020-2021 season 5 back-to-back. No, I lie. 5 they've won. Let me just get everything into perspective here.
All right,
since, since 2021, they've won the season before the last day of the season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now they're 4 points away from doing that again, which would make it 6 times. And then it's 8 consecutive, like back-to-backs, you know?
Is it a thing in South African football, in the PSL, to give, what do you call it? Not corridors of honor, but...
Yes, it is.
Basically, they stand up and they, done.
Yeah, God of honor.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't know, words are leaving me today.
It is God of honor.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It is. So, yes, they do that as the champs come out. We were talking about injuries. Shalulile sitting out in the stands. Williams sitting out in the stands. Onyango in the sticks. But I sadly took medication because I'm not feeling the greatest and fell asleep after the second goal. But it was Icky, it was Adams, and it was Maseko. They got their names on the score sheet.
Jadam Adams has stepped up since he's moved.
Wow, actually. And remember, I was quite cynical. I was just like so young, so tender. Yeah. You come into a position where you have the grass that even bows down when he comes onto the pitch, and that is Temba's one. You know, and I was just like, I don't know if this is going to make or break him. And I honestly thought maybe a little too fragile for a break. But no, was I wrong? I mean, he has stood up in more ways than one to say that, you know what, I've earned this, I should be here, and watch me make a mark. And I also like that he's younger, you know, so there's still so much room to grow. I think he had a birthday just now recently.
How old is he? Sorry, is he 25? 21? I thought he was a little bit older than that. Okay,
very young and tender. Hence I said perhaps a break,
tender,
you know?
Yeah. I mean, Sundowns have scored 57 goals already this season, which is a club record in the league campaign in the PSL era. That's outstanding. Chile boys are in trouble though. They're just going down. They just keep slipping,
eighth, right?
Yeah, but they just keep slipping, so they're not going to get in.
Slipping, falling.
It's so-called magical top 8. I do wonder if there's too many football tournaments in South Africa in terms of, like somebody like Sundowns. They play every single game. They've got the Champions League final coming up now.
Correct.
They must be exhausted.
They are dead.
Yeah.
They are tired because it's also Club World Cup that they've got to save themselves for, right? Yeah. And I don't think we'll see any of the Sundowns players in the friendlies that Bafana are arranging for June either, you know, based on the fact that obviously they're needed elsewhere and these are just friendlies. But they're tired. They're exhausted. And then also you've got to rotate the team. I think they've got a big enough team to be able to rotate, but we're obviously seeing the same playmakers, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Over and over. Maseko coming off the bench, I believe, yesterday, scoring that third goal. It is an Icky that is, I guess, he's starting more. Adams we're always seeing there. A Mudau we're always seeing. A Postman we're always seeing. But I also do think that it is time to refresh.
Yeah, it is. I mean, maybe we don't need the MTN8. I mean, that sounds terrible, but we've got the Nedbank Cup. You've got the PSL. You've got CAF Champions League. You've got Conference League. Yeah,
I mean, who was it that said they were going to take away the extra time? And I really like that. But I mean, you're going to do a little bit more than that in order to save legs, save energy, save bodies that are put on the line. It's far too congested, Kev. I have to agree with that. And we're going to start seeing players like a Williams, like a Shalulile, who now have injuries more and more and more. Why? Because they're overloaded. Your body can also only take so much.
And there also is going to be so we're watching entertainment. So the product is going to be good. And if the product isn't good and if there's too much product, it's like having chappies at 1 cent each. You know, you can buy a ton of them.
The flavor's going to run out after you chew 5 times.
Exactly that. So
but I think you make a good point because it is entertainment, right? So where do you draw the line between entertaining and winning? Because there has to be that fan value, right? I'm watching why.
Yeah.
For what reason? For you to win? No. How are you winning? What are you giving me? There's got to be some entertainment. There's got to be.
Well, that's why you watch sport. It's the greatest reality television in the world. It is, because you don't know what's going to happen. You know,
True.
People don't get voted out unless it's the Black Label competition, whatever. It
works differently.
That's voted in. Sorry, that's voted in. But I mean, Sundowns obviously want to save players for this World Club Cup. 174 million rand they're going to get.
It's insane. World Cup.
Yeah.
That's mad money, man.
Yeah, but that's money for the season. That'll probably. That's what Steppi's monthly salary, isn't it? I mean, that's just pretty much.
It's a lot of money, but okay, we watch because it's only 4 points that they need in order to claim an 8th successive Betway Prem.
So PSL has now confirmed that the Nedbank Cup is sold out, but
Probably
madness,
sold out
mayhem,
or overly sold out.
Yeah, mayhem still again. I mean, it was just an absolute. It was a cock up. Let's be blatant about it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a blunder. I'm nervous for the actual day because what is going to happen if it is that you've been issued a ticket, and I believe there were over 5,000 tickets issued at the various outlets yesterday, yes. So now what happens? Do you cancel my ticket that I have in hand? Apparently transactions happened and money is now supposed to be reversed. Bertie, CEO Stadium Management, also was everywhere yesterday trying to explain this website crash and what is going to happen. But I still fear, and I'm going back to April 11th, and that's where my fear comes from, is if I have a ticket and I'm in the stadium, right, and it's oversold by 10,000 tickets, and it isn't really rectified like they say it is, or I make my way in along with 10,000 other people with my reversed ticket here.
Yeah. And
what happens then?
And then where do you sit?
Because it's the safety of everybody at the end of the day. It is Chiefs and Pirates at the end of the day.
People can't sit in the corridors or in the stairs because that's emergency exits.
That was the AFCON final, actually. If we ever go there, their last AFCON, the final, very badly planned in terms of, there was even a little bit of a stampede. But anyway, story for another day.
RPL 2009, the final of the Wanderers. I was watching, I was a journalist, and I got a phone call from the then CEO of the Lions Cricket, and he wasn't allowed his own in the long room. He was at another box. And he says, have a look here. So this is a 30,000 seated stadium. There are at least 40,000 people in here, and people were sitting in the stand. There were people just basically going in with one family with one ticket. It was an absolute cock up.
No, I'm very nervous for the weekend. I hope that it can be rectified as they're saying that it would be. I know that it is now sold out, and I hope that whatever corrections they needed to make has been made so that we do not have a stampede, and it's going to be a delayed start again.
There's no doubt.
To kick off at this Nedbank Cup final. But for me, more than anything, it's the lives of people, the safety thereof, because you're going to be entertained, not
what they need to do is
dead
just
bodies
open the gates early. Open the gates early, and then check.
The gates are always open
check.
early. The gates open way before the match starts, 3-4 hours before already. So, but I also think it's a tendency of South Africans.
Yeah.
Like, we do everything last minute, right? Oh, we're going to the stadium. Yeah, we'll go 20 minutes before. Oh, there's a deadline. Renew your license, ID card. Oh, when are we going? 2 minutes before.
Yeah, what they should have done is set up fan parks on the beach. That would have been great.
What SuperSport actually has is partner venues.
Yes.
So if you can't make it, go to the partner venue, so they're quite big on that. But
or go to Kings Park, go across the road. There's a big space up in there. They have the braais after rugby games.
Where do you really want to be?
You want to be inside the stadium. Yeah. But if you can hear it, then it's okay. Unlike United fans who sometimes duck earlier and then they're walking down the road and it's on the TV in the furniture shop and they're going, why did we leave? Why did we leave?
Excuse me.
PSG and Arsenal are out. Sorry, not PSG. Arsenal are out after losing to PSG, and PSG will play Inter Milan in the Champions League final later in the month, in June, I think it is. When is it the final? It's on the 31st of May. It's right at the end of the month. 3-1 aggregate triumph. They lost 2-1 last night. Mamelodi Sundowns says his team is the best in Europe. He said no, he hasn't seen a better team.
Okay.
A better team in Europe. And I thought that's not how you spell bitter. He sounded particularly bitter. They were all over PSG in the first 30 minutes. Donnarumma, the Italian goalkeeper, was outstanding for PSG. And I think they've got probably the best attacking strike force in Europe at the moment. And Inter Milan are going to have their hands full. They really are. I feel sorry for Arsenal, but it is what it is.
Who scored there? Ashraf Hakimi?
So it is. Sorry, I'm just looking down this year. So Dembele scored in the first time. Hakimi did score. You're right. He put the tie on in the 72nd minute. First goal was by Fabian Ruiz. So it's Ashraf Hakimi and Fabian Ruiz. Yeah. Okay. And Bukayo Saka got one near the end, and then Blaze went over the crossbar, which could have changed the game in Paris. It would have basically helped the aggregate score. But yeah, Arsenal out, and no English teams in the Champions League final for a first time in a long time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Kagiso Rabada is back in India, and they reckon he still needs more net time. When I first read that, I said net, and I thought, no, Kevin, not Dacha, net time. Sorry, not Dacha time. He basically hasn't.
Stop it.
He needs to train a bit more. So that's why he didn't play against the Mumbai Indians yesterday. He may still play against. He may play against.
So he's not
tomorrow.
playing because they said tomorrow. Yeah, they said Friday.
I think he's going to play tomorrow. Yeah, but he's fit. Even though he does, I still can't believe that he smokes cigarettes. It's mind-boggling for me. Mind-boggling.
Look, I've also been reading a lot of the reports that came out. And just surfing the web, kind of just to see the different reports and what everyone's saying, and it's kind of like a black dot next to your name, and no more than that. And so I guess. It's like I said yesterday when we were chatting to the SA Institute of Drug-Free Sport.
Galant,
yes, where it's excusable.
Mm-hmm. It's almost overwrought. I think some of the columns I've read have been almost like hysterical. How can he do this to black cricket South Africans? I'm going, what are you talking about?
I didn't even take it that far.
No.
For me, it's just like face value. Like we said, human being making mistake, young enough to want to have a little fun, had fun, fell off the pedestal that we put him on, and now life goes on, right?
Well, as Khalid Galant said in another piece, Neil Manthorpe wrote something today, and Neil is a cricket writer, and Galant said, it's funny that no one complains about the binge drinking and alcohol abuse in sports by athletes.
But then shouldn't that also then be classified under recreational drugs? In order for us to make a noise. Because if it isn't, we're not going to make a noise, right? Because rules were meant to be broken. Yeah. So unless it's along there with your dacha, your cocaine, your heroin, and I'm missing one, there were 4.
MDMA, basically
ecstasy. Yeah. Then we're not going to make a noise. We're not.
No.
Because it's kind of...
It's a noise
excusable for a lack of a better word.
Put it this way, I can see him coming into the change rooms, and if it was cocaine, someone's going to give him a bottle of Coke. They're going to, here you go, brew, but don't sniff it.
Kev, oh my gosh. Anyway, KG.
He's back.
He's back.
And he'll be playing again. And, by the time the World Test Championship happens on June 11, June 13, we'll going,
but if you're going to be naughty, don't get caught.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing in a white ball sport, not a white line sport, so it's a bit silly.
Stop it.
Rohit Sharma, the Indian captain, is now retired from red ball cricket. He's going to be playing white ball cricket, which is actually quite a good thing because he was on the verge of being dropped because he isn't in form, hasn't scored runs for a while. So he's actually taken a lot of heat off his selectors. So it's good for him. What else has happened? New Zealand Rugby said they've made losses. The All Blacks cannot market themselves.
The All Blacks can't market themselves?
So they made record profit, but the model that they've got is not sustainable. So, they lost $11.6 million. And that's a cracker.
19.5 New Zealand dollars.
That million. It's a lot of money. And basically rugby is on the bones of its arse, which is why South African rugby are now looking for an equity partner as well. But that deal that's now fallen through, and
correct.
As Cash and Sports explained to us, it was flawed. Basically it was a loan that would have to be paid back for things.
How? I guess it's the how, it's the why. Because if you think of the All Blacks and you think of the Springboks, it's the biggest teams in the world. So when it is that they cannot market themselves, is it the way of the world? Is it just the way economies are going? Is it sport across the board? Is it just that money is too tight to mention and therefore corporates are just like, guys, we just all need to kind of look after ourselves. We really can only give you this much.
I think there's too many amateurs in rugby, to be quite honest with you, at the top level. And we've got too many little almost siphoned off competitions. Six Nations, Rugby Championship, Super Rugby's over here. There's URC Champions. It's almost too much. And then there's the July test matches. There's the autumn test matches. Everything
it's also the overloading again,
yeah.
you know. And hence, I mean, when you say rugby are you speaking home only, or are you sort of saying for either one of these teams, you know, that there's the amateurs that you mentioned?
Yeah. Well, we're going to be talking rugby after the break.
You're not answering my question.
I know, I'm trying not to because I don't understand it. But no, I'm just kidding. You ask me NBA questions and I haven't got a clue. Just go straight over my head.
No, but I just want to say, I'm asking, is it the way of the world, you know, in terms of sponsorships? Or are you saying amateur, are you bringing it home specifically?
I just don't think it's run properly at the top level. I don't think it's amateur at the top level, even though there's some really good business minds up there, but it is amateur at the top level in terms of presidents who are amateur administrators, you know, and they're there for their sake. So they're not there for the sport's sake. They're there to be around. But
Thank you so much for answering my question, Kevin.
God, I was very confused.
You're talking rugby after this, right?
Yeah, about the sevens.
This is Omnisport Africa. We are putting African sport first. Live and on demand on your phone. Data free on the MTN network in South Africa. T's and C's apply. And online at omniaudio.africa. Because reading about it tomorrow won't help you today.